What if I told you that one of the world's most successful entrepreneurs was rejected from every job he applied for? That he failed his college entrance exam twice? That he was turned down by Harvard 10 times? That he was once told he was too ugly for a waiter position? Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary story of Jack Ma, a man who transformed rejection into rocket fuel, failure into his greatest teacher, and impossible dreams into a multi-billion-dollar empire that changed the world. This isn't just another rags to riches story. This is a masterclass in resilience, perseverance, and the unbreakable power of the human spirit. This is proof that your current circumstances don't determine your future. Your mindset does. Jack Ma once said, "If you don't give up, you still have a chance. Giving up is the greatest failure." By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what he meant and why his journey from complete nobody to global icon proves that the only limits that truly matter are the ones you place on yourself. So buckle up, because we're about to explore a story so incredible, so filled with setbacks and comebacks, that it will forever change how you view failure, success, and the power of never giving up. Jack Ma's story begins in Hangzhou, China in 1964, during one of the most turbulent periods in Chinese history. Born into a modest family where his father was a traditional musician and his mother a housewife, Ma wasn't destined for greatness by any conventional measure. In fact, he was quite the opposite of what you'd expect from a future billionaire. From the very beginning, Ma struggled academically. While other children seemed to naturally grasp concepts, he found learning difficult and frustrating. His first taste of failure came early and hit hard. He failed his primary school exams not once, but twice. Imagine being a young child, watching your friends move forward to the next grade while you're held back, repeating the same lessons, feeling the weight of disappointment from parents and teachers. Most children would have been crushed by this experience. But even at a young age, Jack Ma showed signs of the resilience that would define his life. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, he developed a different relationship with failure. He began to see it not as a judgment of his worth, but as a challenge to overcome. When it came time for high school, history repeated itself. Ma failed the entrance exam again, strike three in what most would consider a pattern of academic incompetence. His math scores were particularly abysmal. Numbers seemed to be his greatest enemy. Teachers shook their heads, parents worried about his future, and classmates moved on without him. But here's where Jack Ma's character truly began to emerge. While others saw failure, he saw opportunity to try again. While others saw closed doors, he saw reasons to find new paths. He finally passed the high school entrance exam on his third attempt, but his academic struggles were far from over. The real test came when he applied for university. The Gaokao, China's notoriously difficult college entrance examination, would determine his entire future. On his first attempt, he failed spectacularly. His math score was a devastating 1 point out of 120. One single point. Can you imagine the humiliation, the crushing weight of such a public failure? Most people would have given up right there. 1 point out of 120 seemed like a clear message from the universe. You're not cut out for this. But Jack Ma heard a different message. He heard, try harder. He took a job as a bicycle repairman, earning barely enough to survive, but he never stopped studying. Every morning before work, every evening after the shop closed, every weekend when others were relaxing, Ma was hunched over textbooks, wrestling with mathematical concepts that seemed determined to defeat him. His second attempt at the Gaokao was better, but still not good enough. Another failure, another rejection, another reason to quit. By now, Ma was 19 years old, watching his peers advance in their studies and careers while he remained stuck in what seemed like an endless cycle of failure. But something profound was happening during these years of repeated rejection. Ma was developing what psychologists call failure immunity, the ability to bounce back from setbacks stronger than before. Each failure was teaching him something crucial, that his worth wasn't determined by external validation, that persistence could overcome almost any obstacle, and that the only real failure was giving up. On his third attempt at the Gaokao, something shifted. Not just his score, though he did finally pass and gain admission to Hangzhou Normal University, but his entire perspective on failure and success. He had learned that failure wasn't the opposite of success, it was the raw material from which success was built. This foundation of failure would become Jack Ma's greatest asset. While other entrepreneurs feared rejection, he had been inoculated against it through years of exposure. While others crumbled under pressure, he had learned to thrive in adversity. While others saw obstacles, he had trained himself to see opportunities. The years of academic struggle taught Ma three crucial lessons that would serve him throughout his life. First, that intelligence comes in many forms, and academic performance doesn't determine real-world success. Second, that persistence can overcome almost any natural disadvantage. And third, that failure is not a permanent condition. It's a temporary state that can be changed through effort and determination. Little did anyone know that this failed student would one day revolutionize global commerce and become one of the most influential entrepreneurs in history. After finally graduating from Hangzhou Normal University with a degree in English, Jack Ma entered the job market with hope and determination. Surely, he thought, his university degree would open doors that had been closed to him before. He couldn't have been more wrong. What followed was perhaps the most brutal period of rejection in Ma's life. He applied for 30 different jobs over several months. 30 applications, 30 interviews, 30 rejections. Each no was like a hammer blow to his confidence. But Ma kept going. The rejections weren't just professional, they were personal. When KFC opened its first location in his city, it became a symbol of Western success and modern opportunity. 24 people applied for positions. 23 were hired. Jack Ma was the only one rejected. The reason? He didn't fit their image of what a KFC employee should look like. He applied to be a police officer and was told he wasn't physically suitable. He tried for positions at hotels and was rejected for not having the right appearance. One particularly crushing blow came when he applied for a waiter position and was told he was too ugly for the job. These weren't just professional rejections. They were attacks on his very identity and self-worth. But perhaps the most significant rejection came when he applied to Harvard Business School. Not once, not twice, but 10 times over the years. 10 applications, 10 rejections. Each time, he genuinely believed he had improved his qualifications enough to be accepted. Each time, he was wrong. Finally, in 1988, Ma secured a position as an English teacher at Hangzhou Electronic Industry College. His starting salary was $12 per month, barely enough to survive. Many of his university classmates were already earning significantly more in business or government positions. By conventional measures, Ma was falling behind in life. But teaching English opened up a new world for Ma. Through the language, he gained access to Western ideas, literature, and most importantly, perspectives on business and entrepreneurship that were largely unknown in China at the time. He became fascinated by stories of American entrepreneurs and Silicon Valley startups. Ma was an unconventional teacher. He didn't just teach grammar and vocabulary. He taught his students to think bigger, to dream beyond their circumstances, to see possibilities where others saw only limitations. His classroom became a laboratory for testing ideas and exploring concepts that went far beyond the standard curriculum. During this time, Ma also started a translation company called Hope Translation. It was his first real business venture, and like everything else in his life, it struggled initially. The company barely broke even, and Ma often had to use his teaching salary to keep it afloat. But it taught him crucial lessons about entrepreneurship, customer service, and the challenges of running a business in China. In 1995, Ma took a trip to the United States as a translator for a trade delegation. This trip would change his life forever. For the first time, he encountered the internet, which was still in its infancy but growing rapidly in America. When a friend showed him how to search for information online, Ma was astounded. He searched for beer and found pages of results from companies around the world. Then he searched for China and found almost nothing about Chinese businesses or products. In that moment, Ma saw something that would become his obsession: the internet's potential to connect Chinese businesses with the global marketplace. When he returned to China, Ma couldn't stop talking about the internet. He gave presentations to anyone who would listen: friends, colleagues, government officials, potential investors. Most people thought he was crazy. The internet was barely known in China, and the idea of doing business online seemed absurd to most people. Ma's enthusiasm was infectious, but his explanations were often confusing to his audiences. He would spend hours trying to explain concepts like websites, email, and online commerce to people who had never used a computer. Many walked away thinking he had lost his mind. But Ma had learned something crucial during his years of teaching, that true educators don't just share information, they share vision. They help others see possibilities that aren't immediately obvious. And Ma was beginning to develop a vision that would transform not just his own life, but the entire landscape of global commerce. The English teacher who had struggled to find any job was about to embark on a journey that would make him one of the most successful entrepreneurs in history. But first, he would have to survive even more failures, rejections, and setbacks that would test his resolve like never before. Returning from the United States in 1995, Jack Ma was a man possessed by a vision that no one else could see. He was convinced that the internet would revolutionize business in China, but convincing others proved to be his biggest challenge yet. Ma's first attempt at an internet business was China Yellow Pages, founded in 1995 with $2,000 borrowed from friends and family. The concept was simple: create an online directory for Chinese businesses, similar to traditional phone books, but accessible worldwide through the internet. The challenges were immense. In 1995, China had fewer than 100,000 internet users in a population of over 1.2 billion. Most businesses had never heard of the internet, let alone understood why they would need a website. Ma spent countless hours trying to explain to confused business owners why they should pay for something they couldn't see or touch. His first client was a small brewery. Ma convinced them to pay $600 for a basic website listing. When the site went live, the brewery received inquiries from around the world within hours. The owner was astonished. He had never imagined that someone in Germany or Brazil could learn about his Chinese beer company so easily. This success story became Ma's primary sales tool, but progress was painfully slow. He would travel from city to city, business to business, trying to convince skeptical owners to join his online directory. Most meetings ended with polite rejections or confused stares. The financial pressure was enormous. Ma had left his stable teaching job and was now dependent on income from China Yellow Pages. Many months, he barely had enough money to pay his small team or keep the servers running. His wife, Zhang Ying, whom he had married in 1988, supported the family while Ma pursued his internet dreams. Despite the challenges, China Yellow Pages began to grow slowly. Ma's team expanded to include a few dedicated employees who shared his vision of internet commerce in China. They worked out of a cramped apartment, surviving on instant noodles and unwavering belief in their mission. But success brought new challenges. As China Yellow Pages gained traction, it attracted the attention of larger companies and government entities. In 1997, Ma was approached by a state-owned telecommunications company that wanted to partner with him. The partnership seemed like a great opportunity, but it came with strings attached. The government partner wanted significant control over the company's direction and operations. Ma found himself increasingly marginalized in the business he had created. Decisions were made without his input, and his original vision for the company was being diluted by bureaucratic concerns and different priorities. By 1999, Ma realized that the partnership wasn't working. Despite China Yellow Pages' modest success, he wasn't in control of his own destiny. The experience taught him a crucial lesson, that maintaining control and staying true to your vision is more important than short-term financial gains. This period also saw Ma's first encounter with serious competition from international players. Foreign internet companies were beginning to notice China's potential, and they had resources that far exceeded anything Ma could muster. The scale of the challenge became clear. He wasn't just competing with other Chinese startups, but with well-funded international corporations. During this time, Ma also worked briefly for the Chinese government on an internet project. The experience gave him valuable insights into how bureaucracy and innovation often clash, but it also confirmed his belief that entrepreneurship and government work were fundamentally incompatible for someone with his vision and temperament. By early 1999, Ma had learned several crucial lessons from his early internet ventures. First, that having a great idea wasn't enough. Execution and persistence were equally important. Second, that maintaining control of your vision was crucial for long-term success. Third, that competition was inevitable and had to be embraced rather than feared. Most importantly, he had learned that failure wasn't just about bouncing back. It was about bouncing forward with greater knowledge and stronger determination. Each setback had taught him something valuable about the internet industry, Chinese business culture, and his own capabilities as a leader. But Ma's biggest test was still ahead. He was about to embark on the venture that would define his legacy and change the world of commerce forever. The lessons learned from China Yellow Pages and his government work would prove invaluable, but the challenges he was about to face would dwarf everything he had experienced before. The stage was set for the birth of Alibaba. But first, Ma would have to convince a room full of friends to bet their futures on his seemingly impossible dream. The 21st of February, 1999. In a cramped, 200-square-foot apartment in Hangzhou, Jack Ma stood before 17 friends and former colleagues, about to deliver the most important presentation of his life. The room was so small that some people had to sit on the floor. The atmosphere was informal, but what Ma was proposing was anything but casual. "We are going to build a company that will last 102 years, Ma announced, his eyes burning with conviction. "We will create a platform that will help small businesses around the world connect and trade with each other. We will make it because we are young and we never give up." The presentation lasted 2 hours. Ma laid out his vision for Alibaba, a business-to-business platform that would connect Chinese manufacturers with buyers worldwide. He painted a picture of the internet as the great equalizer, where small companies could compete with large corporations, where geography would become irrelevant, and where opportunities would be limitless. His audience was skeptical. The internet was still largely unknown in China. E-commerce was an alien concept. Most of the people in that room had never made an online purchase or even sent an email. But Ma's passion was infectious, and his track record with China Yellow Pages, modest as it was, gave him some credibility. When he finished speaking, Ma asked for their commitment, not just as investors, but as founding team members who would dedicate their lives to building this company. The financial requirements were minimal. They scraped together just $60,000 from their personal savings. But the personal commitment he was asking for was enormous. One by one, all 17 people in that room agreed to join him. They quit their stable jobs, left their comfortable positions, and bet their futures on Jack Ma's vision. This decision would prove to be one of the most prescient investments in business history, but at the time, it seemed like collective madness. The early days of Alibaba were characterized by extreme hardship and unwavering dedication. The entire team worked out of Ma's apartment, with multiple people sharing desks and working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. They survived on instant noodles, shared meals, and the collective belief that they were building something revolutionary. Money was constantly tight. Ma mortgaged his apartment and borrowed from friends and family to keep the servers running. There were weeks when they weren't sure if they could pay their internet bills, which would have shut down the entire operation. The team often worked without salaries, accepting equity instead of cash payments. But the biggest challenge wasn't financial, it was credibility. Chinese manufacturers were skeptical of doing business through an online platform. They had never heard of the internet, didn't understand how it worked, and couldn't imagine why foreign buyers would trust Chinese suppliers they had never met. Ma and his team became evangelists for the internet. They traveled across China, visiting factories and workshops, explaining how the internet could expand their markets beyond their wildest dreams. They demonstrated email, showed how websites worked, and patiently answered thousands of questions from confused but curious business owners. The breakthrough came slowly, one customer at a time. Alibaba's first major success was helping a small Chinese manufacturer of Christmas decorations connect with a buyer in the United States. The order was worth $3,000, a small amount by today's standards, but it proved that the concept could work. Word began to spread within China's manufacturing communities. Factory owners who had been skeptical started to see the potential. As more Chinese suppliers joined the platform, it became more attractive to international buyers. The network effect that Ma had envisioned was beginning to take hold. But success brought new challenges. As Alibaba grew, it attracted attention from competitors and skeptics. Many people questioned whether the company could be profitable, whether Chinese suppliers could be trusted, and whether the internet was just a passing fad. The dot-com crash of 2000 threatened to destroy everything they had built. Internet companies around the world were collapsing, investors were fleeing the sector, and many people declared the internet revolution to be over. Ma's team watched as their competitors shut down one by one. But Ma saw opportunity in the crisis. While other companies were laying off employees, he was recruiting top talent from failing internet startups. While others were cutting costs, he was investing in improving Alibaba's technology and expanding its services. Today is difficult. Tomorrow is more difficult. But the day after tomorrow is beautiful. Ma told his team during the darkest days of the dot-com crash. Most people die tomorrow evening and cannot see the sunshine of the day after tomorrow. This philosophy, that persistence through the darkest moments leads to breakthrough, would become central to Alibaba's culture and Ma's leadership style. The company didn't just survive the dot-com crash, it emerged stronger and more focused than ever. By 2001, Alibaba had achieved something remarkable. It was profitable. While internet companies around the world were burning through cash with no clear path to profitability, Alibaba was generating revenue from membership fees and advertising. The business model that Ma had envisioned was working. But Ma's ambitions extended far beyond just surviving. He wanted to build a company that would fundamentally change how business was conducted, not just in China, but around the world. The success of Alibaba's B2B platform was just the beginning of a much larger vision. By 2003, Alibaba had established itself as the leading B2B platform in China. But Jack Ma was restless. He could see that the future of internet commerce lay not just in connecting businesses, but in enabling consumers to buy and sell directly to each other. The problem was that this market was already dominated by a seemingly unbeatable giant, eBay. eBay had entered the Chinese market in 2002 by acquiring EachNet, the country's leading auction site, for $180 million. They had unlimited resources, international expertise, and a proven business model. Most observers assumed that eBay would quickly dominate Chinese e-commerce, just as they had in other markets around the world. Most entrepreneurs would have been intimidated by such formidable competition. But Jack Ma saw opportunity where others saw impossibility. He studied eBay's approach carefully and realized they were making a crucial mistake. They were applying a Western business model to Eastern culture without understanding the fundamental differences. In May 2003, Ma made one of the boldest decisions of his career. He secretly assembled a team of top engineers and product managers and gave them a mission that seemed impossible: build a consumer marketplace that would defeat eBay in China. The project was codenamed Taobao, which means searching for treasure in Chinese. The team worked in complete secrecy for several months, developing a platform that was specifically designed for Chinese consumers. While eBay focused on auction-style selling with fixed time limits, Taobao emphasized relationship building and ongoing communication between buyers and sellers. While eBay charged listing fees, Taobao was completely free. While eBay relied on PayPal for payments, Ma's team developed Alipay to address Chinese consumers' deep-seated concerns about online security and trust. When Taobao launched in May 2003, it was immediately dismissed by industry experts as a poor copy of eBay. The design was less polished, the features were simpler, and the company behind it had no experience in consumer e-commerce. eBay's executives were reportedly unconcerned about the competition. But Ma understood something that eBay's international executives missed. Success in China wasn't about having the best technology or the most resources. It was about understanding Chinese culture, building trust with Chinese consumers, and adapting to local preferences and behaviors. The battle between Taobao and eBay became one of the most fascinating David versus Goliath stories in internet history. eBay had every advantage: more money, better technology, international experience, and an established user base. But Taobao had something more powerful: a deep understanding of its market and a willingness to do whatever it took to serve Chinese consumers better. Ma's strategy was brilliantly simple: make Taobao free and focus obsessively on user experience. While eBay charged fees for listings and transactions, Taobao absorbed these costs and found other ways to generate revenue. While eBay's customer service was formal and distant, Taobao's was personal and responsive. The differences became apparent in the details. eBay's site was designed for quick, efficient transactions. Taobao encouraged browsing, chatting, and relationship building. eBay had fixed price listings. Taobao allowed haggling and negotiation. eBay was about completing transactions. Taobao was about building communities. As Taobao grew, eBay responded with massive marketing campaigns and aggressive tactics. They tried to block Taobao from advertising on major Chinese websites. They launched price wars and attempted to acquire Chinese competitors, but every move they made seemed to backfire. Ma's response to eBay's aggression was characteristic of his approach to competition. Instead of fighting fire with fire, he fought fire with water. Instead of matching eBay's spending on advertising, he focused on word-of-mouth marketing. Instead of trying to beat them at their own game, he changed the rules of the game entirely. The turning point came when Ma made a commitment that seemed financially suicidal. Taobao would remain free for its users for at least 3 years. This decision horrified investors and board members, but Ma understood that it was necessary to build the critical mass needed to defeat eBay. By 2005, Taobao had overtaken eBay as the leading e-commerce platform in China. The victory wasn't just about market share. It was about proving that local companies could compete with and defeat global giants when they truly understood their markets. In 2006, eBay announced its withdrawal from China, essentially conceding defeat to Taobao. The impossible had happened. A Chinese startup had defeated one of the most successful internet companies in the world. But Ma's vision extended far beyond just e-commerce. The success of Taobao had validated his belief that the internet could transform entire industries and create new forms of commerce. He was already planning his next moves: digital payments with Alipay, cloud computing with Alibaba Cloud, and eventually, a complete ecosystem of internet services. Each new venture would face the same skepticism, the same predictions of failure, and the same seemingly insurmountable challenges. But Ma had learned something profound from the eBay battle: that the biggest obstacles often hide the biggest opportunities, and that true innovation comes from seeing possibilities that others cannot imagine. The defeat of eBay was more than just a business victory for Jack Ma. It was validation of his core philosophy that understanding your market and serving your customers obsessively could overcome any competitive disadvantage. But Ma's ambitions extended far beyond e-commerce. He envisioned building a complete ecosystem of internet services that would touch every aspect of digital life in China and beyond. The next major challenge came with the launch of Alipay in 2004. Online payments were the Achilles heel of Chinese e-commerce. Unlike Western markets where credit cards were ubiquitous and consumers were comfortable with online transactions, Chinese consumers were deeply skeptical of digital payments. The banking system was underdeveloped, fraud was common, and trust was in short supply. Existing payment solutions were inadequate for the Chinese market. International services like PayPal weren't available, and domestic options were clunky, unreliable, and often unsafe. Ma realized that without solving the payment problem, e-commerce in China would never reach its full potential. The development of Alipay required Ma to essentially reinvent online payments from scratch. Traditional systems relied on trust between buyers and sellers, but Chinese consumers had little reason to trust unknown merchants. Ma's solution was revolutionary in its simplicity. Alipay would hold the buyer's money until they confirmed they had received their goods. Only then would the payment be released to the seller. This escrow system required enormous financial resources and sophisticated technology. Alipay had to process millions of transactions, hold billions of dollars in funds, and manage complex relationships with banks, merchants, and consumers. The regulatory challenges were immense, as Chinese financial authorities were skeptical of new payment systems. But the biggest challenge was building trust. Ma and his team spent years educating consumers about online payments, demonstrating security measures, and proving that Alipay was safe and reliable. They absorbed the costs of fraud and errors, gradually building confidence in digital transactions. The breakthrough came when Alipay became essential to Taobao's success. As more people used Taobao, they were forced to use Alipay. As they became comfortable with Alipay, they began using it for other online purchases. The network effect that Ma had envisioned began to take hold. By 2010, Alipay was processing more transactions than PayPal, despite being launched 6 years later. Ma had not only solved the payment problem for Chinese e-commerce, he had created one of the world's largest digital payment platforms. But Ma's vision went even further. He saw an opportunity to use internet technology to level the playing field for small businesses and individual entrepreneurs. In 2008, he launched Tmall, a platform specifically designed for established brands and retailers. Unlike Taobao, which was primarily for individual sellers, Tmall was aimed at major companies wanting to reach Chinese consumers online. The launch of Tmall created some internal tension within Alibaba. Some executives worried that it would cannibalize Taobao's business or confuse consumers. But Ma understood something crucial. Different types of sellers needed different platforms, and Alibaba needed to serve all segments of the market to achieve its full potential. Tmall's success exceeded even Ma's optimistic projections. Major international brands like Nike, Apple, and they all flocked to the platform, eager to reach China's growing middle class. Chinese consumers embraced the opportunity to buy authentic branded goods online, often at better prices than physical stores. The combination of Taobao and Tmall created a powerful ecosystem that dominated Chinese e-commerce. But Ma wasn't content with just dominating existing markets. He wanted to create entirely new ones. In 2009, Alibaba launched Singles' Day, a shopping festival aimed at unmarried people on the 11th of November, 11/11s. What started as a playful marketing campaign became the world's largest shopping event. In 2020, Singles' Day generated over $74 billion in sales, more than Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined. Singles' Day wasn't just about sales. It was about changing consumer behavior and creating new cultural phenomena. Ma had learned that true innovation doesn't just serve existing needs. It creates new desires and possibilities that people didn't even know they wanted. As Alibaba's ecosystem expanded, so did its influence on Chinese society. The company was creating jobs, enabling entrepreneurship, and fundamentally changing how people shopped, paid for goods, and conducted business. Ma was no longer just running a company. He was helping to reshape China's economy. But with great success came great responsibility and new challenges. Alibaba was attracting scrutiny from regulators, competitors, and critics who questioned the company's market power and business practices. Ma would need all of his resilience and adaptability to navigate the complex challenges of operating at such massive scale. As Jack Ma's empire grew from a small apartment startup to a global technology giant, his journey revealed profound lessons about resilience, leadership, and the power of unwavering determination. The culmination came in September 2014, when Alibaba went public on the New York Stock Exchange in the largest IPO in history at that time, raising $25 billion and valuing the company at $231 billion. But for Ma, the IPO wasn't the end goal. It was validation of principles he had developed through decades of failure and persistence. Standing on the NYSE floor, ringing the opening bell, Ma reflected on the journey from English teacher to global business icon. Every rejection, every failure, every moment of doubt had contributed to this extraordinary outcome. The first lesson Ma's journey teaches us is that failure is not the opposite of success, it's the raw material from which success is built. Each of his early failures, the academic struggles, job rejections, and business setbacks, taught him something crucial about himself, his market, or his approach. He didn't just bounce back from failure, he bounced forward, using each setback as a springboard for improvement and learning. Ma often said, "If you don't give up, you still have a chance. Giving up is the greatest failure. This wasn't just motivational rhetoric. It was a philosophy tested through years of adversity. When others saw closed doors, Ma saw opportunities to find new paths. When others saw impossible odds, Ma saw challenges that would make victory more meaningful. The second lesson is about the power of vision over resources. Throughout his career, Ma consistently faced competitors with superior resources, better technology, and more established market positions. But he understood that vision and determination could overcome almost any material disadvantage. When eBay entered China with unlimited resources, Ma defeated them not through spending more money, but through understanding the market better and serving customers more effectively. Ma's approach to competition was revolutionary. Instead of trying to match competitors' strengths, he changed the rules of the game. When others zigged, he zagged. When others focused on technology, he focused on relationships. When others charged fees, he offered services for free. This contrarian thinking allowed him to find opportunities that others missed. The third lesson concerns the importance of building culture and values, not just business models. From Alibaba's earliest days, Ma emphasized that the company's mission was to make it easy to do business anywhere. This wasn't just a slogan. It was a guiding principle that influenced every decision and strategy. Ma understood that lasting success comes from creating value for others, not just capturing value for yourself. Alibaba's platform succeeded because they solved real problems for millions of small businesses and consumers. By focusing on serving others, Ma built a company that became essential to China's economic development. The fourth lesson is about adaptability and continuous learning. Ma's journey was marked by constant evolution and adaptation. He moved from being a teacher to a translator to an internet entrepreneur. He shifted from B2B commerce to consumer platforms to digital payments to cloud computing. Each transition required him to learn new skills, understand new markets, and develop new capabilities. Ma often said, "Today is difficult, tomorrow is more difficult, but the day after tomorrow is beautiful." Most people die tomorrow evening and cannot see the sunshine of the day after tomorrow. This philosophy of persistence through difficulty became central to Alibaba's culture and Ma's leadership style. The fifth lesson is about thinking globally while acting locally. Ma's success came from understanding that global opportunities often require local solutions. Instead of simply copying Western business models, he adapted them to Chinese culture, preferences, and behaviors. This approach allowed Alibaba to succeed where many international companies failed. Finally, Ma's journey demonstrates the importance of surrounding yourself with people who share your vision and values. The 17 founders who joined him in that cramped apartment became the core team that built one of the world's most valuable companies. Ma's ability to inspire others to believe in his vision was as important as the vision itself. In 2019, Ma stepped down as Alibaba's chairman, transitioning from business leader to philanthropist and educator. His departure wasn't a retreat, it was another example of his forward-thinking approach. He had built a company and culture that could thrive without him, ensuring that his impact would continue long after his direct involvement ended. Today, when young entrepreneurs seek Ma's advice, he tells them, "Never give up. Today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. If you can survive tomorrow, you will see the sunshine." Jack Ma's story proves conclusively that your background doesn't determine your destiny, your current circumstances don't define your potential, and your past failures don't predict your future success. What matters is your willingness to persist when persistence seems pointless, to believe when belief seems foolish, and to continue when continuation seems impossible. As we conclude this incredible journey through Jack Ma's life, remember that his story is not just about one man's triumph over adversity. It's a blueprint for anyone who's ever been told they're not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough to achieve their dreams. Jack Ma was rejected by KFC, failed multiple exams, and was told he was too ugly to be a waiter. Yet he built one of the world's most valuable companies and became one of the most influential entrepreneurs in history. His journey proves that the only limits that truly matter are the ones you place on yourself. The next time you face rejection, remember Jack Ma's 30 job applications and 30 rejections. The next time failure knocks you down, remember his multiple exam failures and how each one taught him something valuable. The next time someone tells you your dreams are impossible, remember that the man who revolutionized global commerce was once considered unemployable. Your current chapter is not your final chapter. Your present circumstances are not your permanent condition. Your past failures are not your future destiny. If this story inspired you to never give up on your dreams, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of triumph over adversity. Share this video with someone who needs to hear Jack Ma's message of resilience and perseverance. Remember, every expert was once a beginner, every professional was once an amateur, and every icon was once an unknown who refused to give up. Your breakthrough might be just one more attempt away. The world is waiting for what only you can create. Your story of overcoming impossible odds is waiting to be written. Keep going, keep believing, keep building. Never give up.